What if I told you that you could feed your entire family 3 different meals and it only costs $30 and you only had to dirty up 1 pan each night? Well, I'm not kidding. I'm serious. So today I'm going to be sharing 3 sheet pan meals that are all low effort, but big flavor, and of course, totally budget friendly. So let's take a look. Before we look at the grocery list, I do want to point out one thing. On top here, that is what most people think of as a sheet pan, okay? Some people call it like a baking sheet or even a cookie sheet. That's basically what we're talking about. I love to use those for sheet pan dinners, but I also have one of those big Pyrex, the kind that you would make a lasagna in, okay? Those work as well too, and sometimes those are easier to clean. So if you do a sheet pan, you're going to want to spray it really good or use foil or parchment paper, or you can do it in like a lasagna style pan. So totally up to you. I know some people don't have a sheet pan, but they might have like a casserole dish. So I would just use what you have. All of it will all work out in the wash, I promise. Here is our grocery list for our 3 dinners. Now, I do want to make note that it appears that Walmart is doing a rollback on their spices. Some of their spices tend to run anywhere from like $1.12 to $1.25, but I am seeing them all right now for $1. So for this meal plan, I have included all of the ingredients and it's very low cost. And I've also included the cost for the seasonings. So altogether, all the items that we need, it's a total of 15 items, came out to $26.27. Now, a lot of these are basic, so if you already have a pretty well-stocked spice cabinet or a pretty well-stocked pantry, you may already have these, so you can get your total a lot less. There are 2 links down below. The first one goes to my Walmart grocery list, so you can check what the prices would be in your area. The second one goes to my website where you can download a totally free PDF of all the recipes and the grocery list. And if you're following along, this is week 19. Our first meal is going to be a teriyaki chicken sheet pan. Now, I feel like drumsticks kind of get overlooked a little bit, but they're usually a very low cost option. Now, I know a lot of people do barbecue drumsticks, so this time I wanted to do teriyaki. And we're going to pair it with sweet potatoes, broccoli, and pineapple. Now, the reason why I picked these like specific sheet pan meals is because they all have slightly different timing and you add things at different times. Because once you get a handle on how that timing works, you can make a ton of different sheet pan meals yourself based on what you already have. So with this one, we're going to start with the sweet potatoes because those are going to take the longest to cook. We're going to bake those for about 15 minutes. Then we're going to add our chicken, bake that for 20 minutes, and then on the home stretch, we're going to add our broccoli and our pineapple for the last 20 minutes. So altogether, it takes about an hour, but honestly, the amount of effort you would need for each of the 3 parts is so small that I consider this all around a low effort meal. This is also great for those nights that you have like a big sink full of dishes, or if you're trying to help kids with homework, because it gives you like 20-minute chunks, which to me is a whole lot easier to work with. Now, you can easily switch out the sauce here. You can take out the teriyaki, you could do barbecue, you could do so many different sauces here. Same thing with, instead of sweet potatoes, you could do white potatoes or red potatoes. Instead of broccoli, you could do so many options here. So I want you to look at this as, yay, good dinner, but I also want you to look at this as a formula where you can switch out the items for what you already have or for low-cost items in the future. The second sheet pan dinner we're going to do is some Italian mini meatloaves with zucchini and garlic bread. Now, you know I love this this French bread, so of course I had to include it. It's kind of become a running joke because sometimes you all comment about, hey, there's no bread. But I wanted to show you guys again that if you don't have like breadcrumbs for what is traditionally used in a meatloaf, we're going to use the heels of the bread as our breadcrumbs. Now, of course, if you have breadcrumbs, you can obviously use that, but you can also get creative. Take a look in your pantry, look at your snack shelf. I've used cornflakes. I've used different crackers. Even saltine crackers work as a binder. In this case, we're just going to use the French bread heels, but obviously take a look at what you have. Now, we are going to make meatloaf, but instead of adding an egg, we are going to add some of our tomato sauce, and that's going to act as our binder and keep our meatloaves moist. Now, you can buy these little cans. They're 8 ounces, and they have just kind of a basic flavor, so you can definitely up the seasoning or change the seasoning to whatever you like. And then we're going to use the other half of this can to do that sauce on top. And we're going to serve this with some just zucchini that we're going to roast. And then, of course, we got the bread, so we got to make garlic bread. And I have included the garlic powder that you'll need. The only thing I didn't include would be like the oil or the butter or the margarine, because I consider those pantry staples. And everybody has their own preferences on what oil, what butter, what margarine, any of those things that they use. For my last sheet pan supper, I wanted to show you guys this one just because I don't know what it is about fall, but I really like those warm flavors. I'm talking paprika and cinnamon, and those of course go really well with sweet potatoes. Now, if you don't like sweet potatoes, you can leave the cinnamon off. You could also up it even more by adding things like brown sugar or honey or maple syrup. There's so many things you can do here. But basically, once again, we are going to start with our sweet potatoes on a pan. We're going to roast those for about 15 minutes. Then we're going to add in our smoked sausage and our apple wedges. And the apples are actually going to be our quote unquote veggie tonight. And then we're going to cook that. This one only takes about 40 minutes because technically your sausage is already cooked. Now, once again, we can easily swap this out. You don't have to use sweet potatoes. You could use any potatoes you like. And you don't have to use apples. You could easily swap that out with anything that you like. You could do pears. There's just so many options there. Or you could go for a traditional vegetable like green beans or broccoli. Totally up to you. I will say that as this sheet pan is as is, it's really good to, if you have like some honey mustard or anything like that, it's really good to dip it in. But I know not everybody likes mustard, so I did not include that. Now, I mentioned before that this is week 19 of these mini meal plans that include 3 dinners for under $30. Don't forget to go to the website and download the free PDF. It is a 1-page item that has the grocery list as well as the 3 recipes. So at this point, if you have all 19 of them, you have a really good start to some meal ideas, and you can mix and match them. I've had a lot of feedback about people that don't necessarily have a family of 4, that they're just a couple with 2, or it's like, a caregiver and a child, that these are perfect to actually last a whole week because then they have leftovers. So whichever way that you like to do this, I have really enjoyed this series, and I hope you all come back next week when we do another one. If you have any ideas of what kind of themes you would like to see, please leave those in the comments. I am always open to suggestions. I will see you later. Bye.